Hey, what is up guys? Bluntguts here. This is a Watch Your Realms video. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can. I just made an almost 30-minute video where I broke down Iovar's skills and all that. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think that there are a lot of those out there right now. So that's not what I want to do here. I want to do a real quick just breakdown of what my concerns are about Iovar. I think that he is probably the most hyped banner in a really long time. People have been calling him the best banner ever and all that. I did see a fastidious video about that. I don't really agree with that. Honestly, I think if anything, he is the most overhyped banner in a really long time. I think he's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that he's going to live up to the hype that he's gotten to this point. People have been talking about him for months, about wait for the Iovar banner, wait for this, wait. It's like they're putting him on the same pedestal as like Praetus and Valderon, and I just don't think that that's appropriate. I don't think he's game breaking. We've seen some damage tests to this point, and frankly, he's good, but he's not great, and I think that needs to be taken into account with this. So let me just outline a couple of the things that I am concerned about with him. So I think the first thing is with his talent. So conjures one flying sword every 4 seconds. There can be at most 12 flying swords at the same time. Every extra allied marksman on the field increases the conjuring speed of the flying swords. When there are 4 marksmen in battle, the conjuring speed maxes out, reaching 1 flying sword every 2 seconds. Okay, so you can have the rate of regeneration basically going from 1 sword every 4 seconds to 1 sword every 2 seconds. So you're talking about a total of 48 seconds needed in order to get from no swords to full swords. If you have no marksman on the field, if you have 4 on the field, then it's going to take you 24 seconds. Now, my question here is, does he count as a marksman towards this total? My guess is no, because otherwise, why would it say 4 seconds here, right? It should say 3.5 seconds, I would think, because you should be getting a half-second reduction on the rate of sword spawning. Jesus, that's a phrase I never thought I'd say. You should be getting a half-second reduction on that rate every time you get a marksman on there, right? So theoretically, if you have him deployed, you should never be at 4 seconds per sword generated. It should be 3.5 seconds per sword generated because he counts towards 1. My guess is that he does not, which would also mean that you would need to bring a full team of marksmen, five total marksmen, including him, in order to max out this bonus. That's not great, and that's very limiting. There's not a lot of content where I use 5 marksmen. Now, if his bonus justifies it, then maybe I will start doing that. But it's something that we need to keep in mind, particularly in 5-man content, like in Arena or in Guild Wars, which are 2 places where a lot of people have been saying he's going to be really good. He's going to limit the team that you can bring if you want to max out this bonus. So I think that you're not going to get the maximum benefit from him most of the time, is really what it kind of comes down to. And that's not a great feeling for a hero that's as hyped as this. So that is something to keep in mind. Where that comes into play here is on the ultimate, where if you do have 12 swords active, I'm sorry, it's actually on this passive here. If you have 12 swords when you use the ultimate, you're getting an extra 5 seconds of basically triple damage and some other benefits. Attack interval decrease, among other things. So you're probably not going to get this all that much, and certainly not if he's on auto and you're dealing continuous damage to somebody, because his 500 cost ultimate is going to regenerate faster than his swords are going to regenerate back to 12. So that's a big problem, and it's something that in content, especially in content where you're not in control, like say in Guild Wars defense, you're not going to get the max benefit most of the time, meaning that this Victorious Pursuit buff is going to end up being 10 seconds instead of 15. If it takes you 24 seconds, suddenly that means that you're, instead of having it up for 15 seconds out of the 24 seconds in between ultimates, you are having it up for, 10 seconds out of 24. So it's 40% uptime versus 60% uptime. It's a big deal at the end of the day, and it's something that really needs to be taken into account. It's not something I've seen people talk all that much about. The other thing is, let's see, what else do we have here? I think this one, I have no issues with that. The Lord skill. I'm confused about what this means. So the first part, 15% attributes, that's standard. Extra range, Piercer Lord standard. When deployed, faction team members' damage increases by 15% every 20 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. When who's deployed? Are they talking about him? Are they talking about the allied marksman? If I don't deploy him, but he's the Lord, and I deploy my Hex, will 1 minute later Hex have a 45% damage boost? Maybe, but I don't know. And given their history, and by they I mean Moonton, their history of writing tooltips in kind of vague and obtuse ways, I don't trust that this works as it should. Meaning that because it's a Lord skill, it should just work without him being deployed. This when deployed language here, without specifying who needs to be deployed, it makes me nervous, and I'm not sure what this means. It's a problem. At the end of the day, I think he is going to be a good hero. I do think he's going to be a good hero. I think that if you don't have a Racha, you definitely want to pull for him. He's going to be the best Piercer Lord out there. You're going to actually want to use him rather than a Racha, where more often than not, she's really just brought for the bonus. The only place that she's not is, I guess, in Airborne Arena, where he's going to be better than her, and then also in Guild Wars, where I think a lot of people have said that he's going to be better than her. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. She actually does pretty decent damage when she's got her ultimate up. She also brings a lot of control, and he brings no control. He's all about the damage. So I don't know that he's going to be superior in that game mode. I think situationally he could be, but I also think that you're also not going to be able to max out his bonus by bringing in a bunch of marksmen either, because you're limited by the number of platform units you can bring. You're kind of further limited in that because you really, more often than not, you're going to want to bring a healer. So it's going to be hard for you not to bring anybody. So I don't know. At the end of the day, he's going to be a really good hero. And if you do pull him, I don't think you should be upset, even if you do have a Racha. Hell, I have a Racha, and I think I am going to be pulling. But I think we need to set our expectations realistically here and figure that at least some of these things are not going to work in the way that is more beneficial to the player. I don't think that he is going to be this crazy overpowered hero in the way that Praetus or Valderon is. And I think that is why most people were saving their Ancients, was to take advantage of a good 15x with really solid heroes. So if you don't have a Piercer Lord, definitely pull. If you do have a Racha, I think that you're going to have to make up your own mind. You have to do a cost-benefit analysis. The other reason that I am going to be pulling is because I really want Carnelian. And I'm not going to go too deep into her kit. Suffice it to say, she's a healer who doesn't really heal all that well. She heals primarily for chaos units to keep them around 30% so they can take full advantage of the bonuses that they get for having lower health. However, actually, I didn't even have to click on that. Soul Essence here. When receiving fatal damage, the bearer consumes the soul essence and becomes unyielding for 5 seconds. Unyielding is their unkillable buff. And so basically, she's going to give everybody a free death, free 5 seconds at any time they take fatal damage. If they do have this soul essence buff up, all she has to do is heal them 7 times while they don't have the buff, and then they automatically get it. And her heals bounce around. She does AoE heals essentially. And so you're going to be able to pass this buff out to a lot of different heroes. She is kind of unique in this way. She's the only hero that can grant unkillable. Well, it's not the only one, but she's the most effective hero at granting unkillable to all of your different heroes in the game. And that is a unique skill that we don't really see all that often. I've seen some really badass Guild Wars defenses that have utilized Carnelian to full effect. Now, she's not, an I win button. She's not going to just make it so your team can never die, but she does add a pretty significant wrinkle that the attacker has to consider when they are taking on your defense. And especially at the higher levels of GVG, it's something that I want to be able to leverage into my teams. I'd like to be able to play around with her. I think that she has a really, really cool skill set, and I'd like to see if I can't make it work and try to get creative with it. Right now, Guild Wars is the creative PvP game mode. Regular arena, I'm sorry, it sucks. Like I'm sure there's some people that like it. I don't know why, honestly. It's the same fight over and over again. You don't change your strategy based on what the other team does. All you're really doing is maybe pacing your ultimates different, depending on how quickly the other team is beating the waves. And so there's a lot of content in this game that they've put out that is just mindless. And I just really don't get it. I'm kind of like, I've latched on to Guild Wars because it is a creative game mode that does take kind of skill and planning, and there is a lot of like theory crafting that goes into it. I really enjoy that. They need some more stuff that is going to make people think when they're at endgame, some more uncapped stuff. This is going to make people think. I'm hoping that the new guild boss that just appeared on Forerunner is going to be that. Speaking of which, a lot of heavy damage going out there. I could see Carnelian being somebody that could help keep your team alive through some of those big hits. So she might be valuable there as well. I don't know. There's a lot of testing that needs to be done on that boss before we can say anything for certain. But if you don't get her, you're not going to be able to. So ironically, I'm going to be going into this banner. I'm going to be hoping for a Carnelian. And then in order, I'm going to be hoping for a Praetus, a Valderon, a Cyrus. And if none of those three, then I would take my Iovar. And it really sucks to be going into the 15x banner not wanting the Lord Hero that you're most likely to get. But that is kind of the case. I do want him. I don't need him. And I'm skeptical. I'm real skeptical. So I think you should be too. I think you should think about your own roster. I think about where you want to use him and take some of what I've said into that conversation that you're having and trying to figure out whether or not he is worth pulling for at the end of the day for you. And that would be my advice. I have saved up, let's see, 172 ancient summons. I've summoned 50 of them in the past 4 months. Otherwise, this is the sum total of my ancients that I've been able to generate during that time. So I guess it was 222. That's how much I got in 4 months, which is pretty solid at the end of the day. I'm actually pretty surprised that I was able to accrue so many. There may be a Valderon banner coming around the anniversary. That's what we've heard. There may be a Praetus banner at some point. I've heard people say that it's not coming anytime soon. I don't think that they know, so I would take all of that with a grain of salt. But, I'd love to get a Carnelian and then maybe just stop. I'd like to max out the event. However, unfortunately, it is, I should have known it was going to be because it's a big weekend, but it is a 15,000 point summon event. So I don't know how. It's going to depend on how lucky I am, how many points I get. I'd love to come away from this with at least 100 ancients still in my inventory so that I could, save them for a banner that has a 15x on a Lord Hero that I actually do want. But in any case, I've been Blunt Guts. Hopefully this helps you kind of frame your thinking as you're trying to decide what you want to do tomorrow. I will be pulling my ancients tomorrow and posting my video then. So please do tune into that. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Good luck on your summons tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night.